In a world that often celebrates flawlessness, perfect bodies, pristine homes, high-achieving careers, it's no surprise that many people struggle with perfectionism. At first glance, perfectionism might seem like a positive trait. After all, what's wrong with striving to be your best? The truth is, perfectionism isn't the same as healthy ambition or a drive to improve. It's a rigid, unforgiving mindset that can steal joy, damage relationships, and contribute to anxiety, depression, and burnout. It's a relentless inner critic whispering that nothing is ever good enough, not your work, your appearance, your parenting, or even your rest. Fortunately, perfectionism can be managed and even transformed. The key lies in embracing a new mindset, one that values growth over flawlessness, progress over paralysis, and good enough over impossible ideals. Perfectionism is more than a desire to do well. It's an inner demand to be perfect, always. At its core, it's driven by fear of failure, fear of rejection, and fear of not being enough. People with perfectionistic tendencies often link their self-worth to their achievements or the approval of others. There are three common types of perfectionism. Self-oriented perfectionism, which involves holding yourself to unrealistically high standards and being overly self-critical when you fall short. Socially prescribed perfectionism, where you believe that others expect you to be perfect and fear rejection if you're not. And lastly, other-oriented perfectionism, which is expecting perfection from those around you, often straining relationships. Regardless of its form, perfectionism can lead to chronic stress, indecision, procrastination, low self-esteem, and difficulty enjoying life. The hidden costs of perfectionism are significant. While it may seem productive on the surface and often leads to high performance, it comes at a cost. The high cost of striving for perfection is something many overlook. It can drain your energy, consume your time, and leave you feeling unfulfilled despite your achievements. It's important to recognize that perfection is an unattainable goal, and the pursuit of it can be more harmful than beneficial. Burnout and exhaustion. Constantly striving to do everything perfectly is draining. It leaves little room for rest, creativity, or play. Procrastination. Ironically, perfectionists often procrastinate, fearing they won't meet their own high standards. The result? Missed deadlines and added stress. Impaired relationships. Perfectionists may struggle with vulnerability, conflict, or can create distance in personal and professional relationships. Reduced creativity and growth. When failure feels intolerable, experimentation and risk-taking become too scary. Perfectionism stifles learning. Mental health struggles. Perfectionism is closely linked to anxiety, depression, eating disorders, and obsessive-compulsive behaviors. Recognizing these costs is the first step toward meaningful change. The myth of perfect. One of the biggest traps of perfectionism is the belief that perfection is attainable, or even necessary. But perfection is a myth. No one is flawless, and no one lives a life free of mistakes, missteps, or messiness. Redefining good enough. In fact, perfectionism often masks deeper insecurities. It can be a coping mechanism rooted in childhood experiences, such as conditional love, trauma, or high expectations, that taught someone their worth depends on achievement or approval. Letting go of perfection doesn't mean letting go of excellence. It means embracing your humanity. It means understanding that worth isn't earned through flawlessness, it's inherent. What does good enough really mean? The phrase good enough sometimes gets a bad rap. To a perfectionist, it can sound like settling or giving up. But in reality, good enough is a powerful and freeing concept. Good enough means you've put in honest effort and met realistic goals. The result is functional, effective, or meaningful, even if it isn't flawless. You recognize that improvement is ongoing, but you don't let imperfection stop you. You prioritize your well-being and relationships over impossible standards. Embracing good enough can transform your relationship with work, creativity, parenting, and even self-care. It creates space for authenticity, connection, and self-compassion. Practical steps to overcome perfectionism. Letting go of perfectionism is a journey. not a switch you flip overnight, but with awareness and intentional practice, you can begin to shift toward a more balanced, compassionate mindset. Embracing good enough can transform your relationship with work, creativity, parenting, and even self-care. It creates space for authenticity, connection, and self-compassion. Practical steps to overcome perfectionism. Letting go of perfectionism is a journey, not a switch you flip overnight, but with awareness and intentional practice, you can begin to shift toward a more balanced, compassionate mindset. Challenge all-or-nothing thinking. Perfectionism often thrives on black and white thinking. Success versus failure, right versus wrong, perfect versus useless. Start noticing this pattern and replacing it with more nuanced perspectives. Instead of thinking, if I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all, try, doing something imperfectly is better than doing nothing. Progress counts. Learning counts. Half finished is better than never started. Setting realistic goals and practicing self-compassion. Set realistic, flexible goals. Perfectionists often set goals that are overly ambitious, vague, or tied to external validation. Try setting goals that are specific. What exactly do you want to do? Measurable. How will you know when you've done it? Achievable. Is it realistic given your time, energy, and resources? Value-driven. Does this align with what matters most to you? And remember, goals can be revised. Flexibility isn't failure, it's wisdom. Practice self-compassion. Perfectionism is rooted in harsh self-judgment. To heal, you must learn to speak to yourself with kindness. Self-compassion isn't self-pity or self-indulgence. It's the ability to offer yourself the same care you'd give a friend in a moment of struggle. Try saying, I did my best with what I had today. It's okay to be human. Mistakes are how I grow. Mindfulness and redefining success are essential for a balanced life. Kristin Neff, a leading researcher in self-compassion, recommends 3 components. Mindfulness. Acknowledge your pain or struggle without exaggeration or suppression. Common humanity. Recognize that imperfection is part of being human. Self-kindness. Respond to yourself with understanding rather than criticism. Redefine success. For a perfectionist, success often equals external validation or flawlessness. Try redefining success in more meaningful internal terms. Ask yourself, did I act in alignment with my values? Did I show up with honesty, courage, or kindness? Did I allow room for growth? When you measure success by integrity rather than image, you become more resilient and fulfilled. Shift your focus from results to the effort and process. Celebrate the small steps, the showing up, the trying, even when it doesn't turn out perfectly. Building tolerance and seeking support are essential parts of personal growth. These actions help you navigate challenges and build a stronger, more connected community around you. For example, starting a project equals success. Asking for help equals success. Taking a break when needed equals success. This reframing builds confidence and keeps motivation alive. Build tolerance for discomfort. Perfectionists often avoid anything that might lead to failure or criticism, but avoiding discomfort reinforces fear. Instead, build tolerance gradually. Try things you're not great at, and let yourself be a beginner. Share something before it's perfect. Let someone see the messy middle. Each time you face discomfort and survive, your fear shrinks. Seek support. Working with a therapist or counselor can be a powerful way to untangle the roots of perfectionism and develop healthier coping strategies. Therapy provides a safe space to explore beliefs, process emotions, and practice new patterns. Group therapy, support groups, or even open conversations with trusted friends can also help reduce shame and foster connection. Embracing good enough in daily life can be liberating. It allows you to focus on what truly matters rather than getting bogged down in unattainable standards. Remember, progress is more important than perfection. Celebrate your efforts and achievements, no matter how small they may seem. Embracing good enough in everyday life. Letting go of perfectionism isn't about lowering your standards, it's about raising your quality of life. Here are some everyday ways to practice good enough living. At work, submit that report even if it's not groundbreaking. Trust that your contribution matters. At home, leave the dishes for later. A tidy enough home is still a haven. In parenting, you don't need to be a super parent. Showing up with love and presence is enough. In relationships, let people see the real you, flaws and all. That's how intimacy grows. In creativity, make art, write, or perform without aiming for perfect. Expressing yourself is enough. Remember, no one else has your exact voice, experience, or story. By embracing imperfection, you create space for authenticity and impact. Final thoughts. The freedom of good enough. Perfectionism promises control, but it often delivers anxiety, isolation, and paralysis. By choosing good enough, you don't give up. You show up. You move forward. You take risks, make peace with messiness, and embrace your whole self. You are not a machine. You are a beautifully flawed, growing, feeling human being. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy, loved, or enough. You already are. Please subscribe to our channel and click the link for more details.